Hey guys, Ethan here from Mitten Equipment. Before we get too far into the video, I just wanted to mention that we do have a new online store. It's mittenequipment.store. And there you can find some of the stuff we sell, like the heavy hitch, Speeco quick hitch, as well as a lot of Kubota BX products, the single point eliminator kit for the BX80 series tractors. If you want some nice orange key tags, or Mitten Equipment hats, those are all on there. So kind of just a place for us to sell various things online that we can't list on the main website, which is for tractor and attachment listings. Getting into the rest of the video here, we're going to talk about buying used finish mowers and where maybe they have an actual use. You know, personally, I don't see them as a replacement for your lawnmower, especially not a zero turn or a belly mower. Both of those things have a place, and I don't think that a 3-point finish mower will take the place of those, you know, in mowing your lawn and whatnot. However, I do a lot of mowing with this 3-point hitch finish mower that I wouldn't want to do with a zero turn or a belly mower in most cases. You know, so a belly mower, you typically would like to avoid this rough mowing with a belly mower because they are expensive, and you know that's pretty much it. They're just expensive and hard to replace, especially on a tractor that's not brand new, still in production. You know, if you can find the exact mower deck that you're looking for. So to me, I see a 3-point hitch finish mower as kind of a tool that you can beat up a little bit, and you know, if you trash it, you can easily find a replacement. But they work great for this rough area mowing because you can sit on a tractor here like this Kubota L3130 on these really large tires, and it's still pretty comfortable to travel over relatively rough ground. But I'm going to talk a little bit about buying used finish mowers, a little bit of advice that I would offer after I have purchased 3 finish mowers this year, and this Woods mower I'm still hoping to hang on to, but the other 2 I have sold at this point. So I have a little bit of experience in this. I don't specifically seek these attachments out to sell them, but when they come up at dealerships used, sometimes they're for the right deal that you can fix them. Other times it's certainly a loss. I have taken a loss or a near loss on one of these finish mowers, so possibly 2. I guess we'll get into that a little bit. But the number one thing, make sure that you hear the Mower Run when you're potentially purchasing it. Hear the Mower Run, and if it sounds loud, take off the covers and remove the belt so you can isolate components. It's a lot easier to remove the belt than you might think. You know, you don't have to release the tension off the tensioner pulley. You can simply grab the belt and then pull the belt in one direction, you know, as if the mower were rotating, and then pull kind of upwards so that you can slowly work it off of whatever the pulley is closest to you. And once you get it off one of those pulleys, the belt will completely drop off of there. So you can feel, you know, each spindle by itself, each pulley by itself, the gearbox. But I would definitely tell you to make sure all the spindles feel good. You know, spin them, make sure they're not loud. And then the gearbox, as long as those things are good, most other issues are fixable for a relatively feasible amount of money. This Woods finish mower that we see in the video here is one that I got very early this year, and I kind of decided I was just going to keep it for this rough mowing like this. A lot of times I'll get in a tractor like this L3130, and it simply, you know, doesn't have a mower deck. So for me to have this mower around, I can utilize tractors to do this rough area mowing without needing to seek out a tractor with a mower deck, or potentially even use a tractor with the mid-mount mower to mow these rougher areas. But this woods mower, I didn't really inspect it very well. It was the first mower that I had purchased. Underneath the white covers that you see on the mower, I removed them to clean it out one day and discovered that the reason the mower was so incredibly loud was that the idler pulley, the bearing inside of it, had been completely dissolved, essentially. Now, the idler pulley's probably one of the most common failure points for these mowers because they're not really serviceable, whereas the spindles you can grease, the gearbox you can, put fresh oil into it. The idler pulley bearings, they're kind of just a sealed bearing. There's no way to service them, and a lot of them you have to actually purchase an entire new pulley with a new bearing in it. You can't take the bearing out and replace it, which is fine. They're not super expensive, so I ended up replacing that idler pulley on this woods mower, and it was still it was pretty loud, and a little bit concerning at the same time. So ended up removing the belt and doing an actual proper diagnosis of the mower, and I found that the center spindle was maybe not completely shot, but it was very noisy. So I've now removed the center spindle as well as one of the outer spindles on the right side of the mower, because the tube where you hook your grease gun up to where the zerk is at, when you grease it, the grease comes out of the tube. The tube has been rusted out, so I needed to remove the spindle in order to replace that. So I have 2 of the 3 spindles off of this mower, and I have not been able to press them apart. We have a Harbor Freight press, and not that the press might not be strong enough to remove them, but I don't have as much trust in putting as much force on those as I possibly can out of the press while standing right next to it. So I'm not really sure. It's probably something I'm going to mess with this winter, simply because things are done kind of growing for the year, but I am hoping to hang on to this woods finish mower. So I'll talk a little bit about the other ones that I got. I also did a Sitrex 6-foot finish mower. That was a rear discharge. You can actually see some video footage of me working on this mower in my video about buying and fixing used finish mowers, where this woods mower is also in there. So the Sitrex mower, that needed quite a fair amount of parts. I believe that I replaced some of where the wheels go, the kind of gauge wheel where it pivots. I ended up replacing a couple of those, if I remember correctly, and I had to make custom the spacers that the gauge wheels ride on. I made those spacers out of Kubota top link bushings that I was able to get at the local Kubota dealership, and I just cut them down in the lathe. But other than that, I also had to replace the blades, and when I replaced the blades, I found out that the deck was not in perfectly straight. It wasn't perfectly straight, so I had to kind of massage it with a hammer. But other than that, that mower, it did turn out pretty good in the end. I didn't feel like it had a very good cut quality. I felt like the blade tip speed was too low, so it didn't have a great finish quality to it. And for me, like, a huge part of these finish mowers is that I can take an area like this where it's like 2 feet tall and make it look like you've been mowing it, and one or potentially a second cut over the top, whereas a brush hog will just beat it down. And I felt like that Sitrex mower was just kind of beating it down, maybe a better field mower for somebody. So ended up selling that one. I think I sold it for $1,000, and I didn't really make any money on that mower once I had paid for all of the parts that went into it. And that's not even billing myself for my time, so that one was probably a loss. I also purchased a Land Pride 5-foot finish mower, and I bought this one actually because this woods mower here, I was having a bit of a dilemma. I can either replace 2 of these spindles now at $250 a piece. That's $500, and at that point you might as well just do them all. So there's $750 in spindles on a mower that's maybe worth $1,000. But ended up purchasing this Land Pride mower at the same time I was having that dilemma, just as something to kind of use while I decide if I'm going to fix the woods or not. And the Land Pride mower, I got there and I was kind of disappointed when I actually made sure to hear this mower run before I purchased it. I would absolutely make sure that you hear the mower run before you buy one. But this mower, I did hear it run, and I was a little bit disappointed because it was loud. So we took the covers off of it, and I did remove the belt from the mower to isolate the components, and all the spindles felt good, gearbox felt good, and then the idler pulleys were bad, which it seems to be kind of a common thing to fail on these older finish mowers. But that's fine because they're relatively cheap to replace. You can probably, I think I replaced both of those for less than $100, and that was for both. And then some of the gauge wheels where the wheels connect to the mower, those pieces were bent. So I had to actually replace two of those. One of them was bent mildly enough that I was able to straighten it in the press, and then the fourth one was still in very good condition. So had a little bit of money invested in that as well, but that was one of the nicer finish mowers that I had. The blades look good on it, but personally just not a fan of the rear discharge. I much prefer the side discharge. It kind of leaves a neater look. Not really when you're mowing stuff like we're mowing in the video at 2 feet tall, but the rear discharge, of course, would be much better suited to what we're doing in the video. So that's why I'm kind of hanging on to this woods mower. I think personally I find it to be the most satisfying. So now I have the dilemma of how I plan to fix it. If I'm just going to sink the money into new spindles, probably not. I'll probably end up figuring out a way to get the spindles pressed apart and replace them, the bearings inside of them, because I already have purchased the bearings in the races. I just assumed that I would have been able to press them apart much more easily. So that'll be something I mess with this winter. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoy this drone footage. It really does look nice this time of day, and I did have quite a bit of fun mowing this. It's always cool to be able to catch up on mowing like this when I get a nice usable tractor in. This L3130 was a very nice tractor. It had a lot of premium features that you just don't see on older machines, and it was a pre-emissions tractor, which is nice, but it's only 31 horsepower, so it's not like you're like a 40 horsepower machine where it's a big deal to somebody, it's only 6 additional horsepower above what you could currently get with no emissions. But I thought it was a really nice tractor. Somebody had taken really good care of it. It does also have a loader, or it did, and I just take them off when I do this mowing. So I guess we're out of video footage at this point, guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of my advice on purchasing used finish mowers. It can be a little bit of a minefield, so if you're going to do it, just be careful about it and be educated. It's easy to lose money on these things or end up spending more money than you had thought you would have. But thanks for watching the video, guys. I'll see you in the next one.